Guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video you're going to be making this kimono jacket, Ankara kimono jacket with Ankara shorts. And I used about 3 yards of fabric for this, and it's for a size 8. So the first thing we're going to be doing is the Ankara kimono. So you're going to fold your fabric, using the length of your kimono, then you fold it towards the sides, and that makes your folding to be into 4. You're going to have 4 layers. And after that, the first thing you want to do is you want to measure your bust point. At this point, you can decide to use your bust point, and if you don't use your bust point, you can determine what you want to mark there by using the wideness of your sleeve. But I decided to use my bust point here, and that is exactly what I also used for the sleeves. For the wideness of the sleeves. So after you've marked that, you're going to make that into a straight line. The next marking is from your shoulder. You're going to mark your hip line. At this point, because it's a bubu, like a kaftan kind of design, you don't need your waist measurements because there is no shaping of any sort. So you're going to mark the hip line, and this is just like a guide, not even necessarily, but for some people you might decide to use your bust measurement to determine how wide, and for some people you can use your hip as determinant for how wide you want your kimono to be. So now you're going to input your hip line, which is the hip length, the distance from the shoulder, the distance of the shoulder between the shoulder and the hip. And after then, you're going to mark your kimono length, and you had your allowance to hit. When you're done doing that, you're going to move up, and I used about 2 inches for my hemming allowance. So I added 2 inches sewing allowance after I've marked the length I want for the dress, and I also extended that line. Next thing, you're going to come up here. You can use 2 methods. You can just decide to take the measurement from the center of the neck to where you want the sleeve to get to, or you can decide to just mark your shoulder measurement, divide by 2 first, then you had your sleeve length. It's still going to be the same thing, and then you're going to add your hemming allowance. So at this point, I use the whole width at that point. Then you come to your bust point. At that bust point, that is where you're going to impute your bust divided by 4. And at this point, you can either use your bust divided by 4 or you use your hip divided by 4, whichever one you think is fine. Then I added about 3 inches for his, and I added 1 inch sewing allowance, and whatever I got on that chest line is what I put on the hip line and also on the hem of this dress. And after I've marked, I'm going to make that into a straight line as well. And in this angle, you don't want it sharp, you don't want it to be sharp here. You're just going to give it a slight curve. It's around, like, it's just like the armhole area, so just give it a slight curve, and that is all. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the neck. So I did a neck width of 3 inches, and I dropped it down by 1.5 inches, and that's because that is what I want the back to be, because by the time we replace it with our band, it's going to have that collar effect. It's going to lay properly like the way you want it to be. So now we are going to cut all of this out, and do not forget that we have a design and a different neck design for the front. So you're going to cut our back neck first before we move to the front neck design. So at this point, I'm just cutting out the fabric, and that is pretty much all we need at this point. So now I'm going to cut the back neckline. Then after I'm done cutting, like I said, we have a different neckline for the front. You're going to open up, just watch how I'm going to open this up. You want to open it up first like this, then next you want to, open it wide in a way that your neck design, the one part is facing the right side of you, or is going towards the right side, and the other is going towards the other side. So you're going to match up your sleeves first, make sure it matches so that you can have accurate measurements. Then you align your neck. Now this is the front neckline. What I did there was I went down by about 7 inches, and from there I just made a slant curve to connect to the neck width. Your front and the back has to be the same neck width. So I made that into a straight line, and after that I just went ahead to cut it open, and I went straight down to the hem of the dress, so it can be open. And after I was done with that, now I moved to the sewing. You're just going to hem your sleeves, fold in 1 inch and another 1 inch. Do the same for the other sleeve, and when I'm done sewing, this is how it looks like. So the next thing you want to do is you want to take your dress and the neckline, from one hem of the dress to the other hem, towards your neckline to the other end. You're just going to take your tape measure and you measure it all around. And don't forget that this kimono is just about knee length. It's not even up to knee length. So you're just going to measure all around. At this point I think I had about 96 or so. Yeah, it was about 96. So that is what you're going to use in cutting out the band. So I created a band of about 100 inches. Sometimes this fabric can be funny. If I had cut out 96 exactly, there is every possibility that it might get shortened along the line. So just give it a little extra inches and you'll be fine. So when I'm done measuring, my measurement is what I used in getting the band. And for the band, I used the band of like 96 by 2.5 inches on fold, and that's because I want my band to be 2 inches after joining. And now that I'm done joining, this is what I have. So at this point, guys, you just have to iron so that it can lay properly. It's not like it didn't lay properly by this point, but sometimes it's good to iron as you sew. So when we are done doing that, the next thing we want to do is just to join it by the sides. You flip it open, right sides facing each other. You match up the sleeve areas and you take your sewing from one sleeve to the end of the dress, and you also do the same thing for the other side. You can decide to use 1 inch as sewing allowance, and you can just use half of an inch as your sewing allowance, and you also do the same thing for the other side, and you hem the kimono. So we are done with kimono. This is the trouser. For the shorts rather, you determine the length you want and remove your 2 inches band. Then after you've decided, remember it's going to be having sewing allowance. So I'm marking a starting line, and yes, this is on fold. I folded into 2 because I'm cutting the front piece of the short first. So on fold, I folded my hip measurements divided by 4 plus 2 inches. That is what I used in folding. So now making my starting line, I removed my 2 inches band to get my hip measurement. So remember, we have a band, so you're going to deduct your band from whatever it is you want to mark. So I placed my tape measure 2 inches outside the box and I marked my hip measurement. So forget the fact that I brought it in back. It's still the same thing I did. It's just knowing what you want to mark. So after that, I made that into a straight line. So you're going to draw the hip line after the waistline, and after making it into a straight line, the next thing you want to mark is the length of your shirt. And for this I used about 16 inches band inclusive. So this is me marking out my short length, and after the short length the remaining is the hemming allowance, and that's about 2 inches. So come to the hip line, take your hip measurement, divide by 4, mark it down, go to the waistline, take the same measurement, the hip divided by 4, that whatever you have on your hip line, mark it there and make it into a straight line. Still on the hip line, you go out by 2 inches. Now if it were to be a bigger person, you can actually go out by 3 inches. So I went out by 2 inches and I created my crotch curve. So the next thing, you want to go down from the waistline by half of an inch, and this is so that the shirt is sitting properly on the waist, and you connect that to the waistline. You can do it in a slant form and you can do it in a straight line form. Then I went in by half of an inch, and I also connected that to the crotch curve I already have. This is still just so the trouser sits properly and you're not having unnecessary folds. So now you're going to mark your waist measurement divided by 4, 1 inch dart inclusive and 1 inch sewing allowance, and you connect it to the hip. This is going to have a dart, guys. There is no zipper, but there's going to be elastic on the back. So next thing, go down 2 inches from the hip line and take your thigh measurement divided by 2, whatever you have there, also put that on the hem line and you connect. And that is it, guys. Just mark straight down to the hem and you cut that out. Now you're going to use this front piece to cut out the back piece. So place it on another fabric and create a 3 inches extension from the top of the front piece. This is just to say that the back piece is going to be 3 inches longer. That is from the waistline. Make it 3 inches longer than the front piece, and that is what I just did. I extended the line. After then, you're going to want to extend every other lines so that you can have something to work with and you don't get confused. So I extended every of the lines, and the next thing you want to do is on the hip line, where the crotch is now, you're just going to go out by 3 inches. This is so you don't have tight crotch area. So 3 inches, and you go to the waistline, just had about 2 inches, and this 2 inches is for the sewing allowance. Remember, there was no sewing allowance on the front pieces. So next thing, around that crotch curve, go out by 2.5 inches, and on your thigh you go out by 2 inches. Also on the hem line you go out by 2 inches, and you connect all of these together. Now do not forget that you have a 3 inches extension at the top of the fabric, so you're going to go up by 3 inches, as you can see me do. And from that 3 inches extension on the back crotch, you're just going to make a straight line to meet the waist line, and you have your back piece. So now you can go ahead and cut out your fabric. Now we can move to the sewing. So now I'm going to sew the two crotch, the front crotch and the back crotch. After I'm done sewing that, I'm going to bring the front piece. I'm going to add my dart. Yes, there's going to be a dart, guys, do not forget. Then I'm going to prepare pockets for the front piece. So this is the front 2 pieces I need for the pocket, and it's about 13 inches long and 12 inches wide. That is opened, it's not unfold. So it's 2 pieces. I have 2 pieces there, one for each side of the fabric. So what you want to do is you want to take your fabric, your front piece now, because that is where you're attaching the pocket. Make sure they are properly aligned and laid together. You're going to go in with about 2 inches, and you can even do 1.5 inches. Then you go down by 6.5 inches. So that 6.5 inches is the pocket opening. That is how wide or the pocket opening is going to be, or how long, as the case may be. Then remember, your pocket is opened, it is not unfold. So you're just going to go ahead and cut. And yes, make sure you fold your front piece together so you can just cut it together. You can cut it separately, but I mean, it's better this way. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out so I can have my pocket slant. And now that I'm done, here is what is going to happen. Right sides facing each other, you're going to match each of these slants. This part you just cut off, you're going to match it together. You sew and you top stitch, and you also do the same thing for the other side. After which, this is what we have, and you just pull it over this way so you can have your pocket. I don't know what happened at that point, I'm deeply sorry. So now this is what we have our pocket. I've prepared the band for the two pieces, the front piece and the back piece, and the band is about 2.5 inches. By the time I finish joining, it's going to be 2 inches. So I went ahead to fix the band to the front piece and also the band to the back piece, and here is how it looks like. So for the back, I'm going to be inserting elastic. So what you do is divide your waist measurement by 2. Whatever you get, just deduct 4 inches, and that is what you're going to cut for your elastic. After inserting, you seal the both ends to secure the elastic in, and you match the sides. Now we are joining the trousers or the shorts. So match it up, make sure your pocket is not in the way. You don't want to sew down your pocket. Just match it up and sew using your 1 inch sewing allowance. After which, you're going to sew the crotch area from one pant leg to another, and we are going to hem our shorts. And this is what it looks like after we are done. So guys, please don't forget to like this video, share, and drop a comment in the comment section. I'll see you again in another video, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.